A young boy, trapped in a nightmare at home, finds himself in a McDonald's filled with strangers. But one man in the room could change his life forever. Billy Parker, a small, timid child, sat quietly at a corner table, his tiny hands clutching a crayon from his kid's activity pack. Across from him, his stepmother, Teresa Parker, loomed with an impatient glare. For months, Teresa had made Billy's life miserable. Harsh punishments, cruel words, and a cold indifference that left him trembling in fear. Every time he tried to tell his father, Mr. Parker dismissed it. "You're imagining things, Billy. Teresa loves you." But today was different. The McDonald's on Fifth Avenue buzzed with energy. Parents juggling happy meals, kids laughing in the play area. And sitting just a few tables away, sipping coffee with two associates, was Donald Trump. People whispered, some sneaking quick photos on their phones. Billy had seen Trump on TV before. His teacher once said he was a powerful man, someone who could fix problems. As Teresa's scolding grew sharper, an idea sparked in Billy's mind. It was risky, but he had nothing left to lose. Billy sat in silence, staring down at his tray as Teresa's sharp voice cut through the noisy restaurant. "Eat your nuggets, Billy," she snapped, her eyes cold with impatience. His small fingers trembled as he picked at a single fry, too afraid to disobey, but even more afraid to meet her gaze. He had learned that speaking back, or even hesitating too long, could mean trouble. Teresa was always careful, never leaving visible marks, but the pain, the fear, and the loneliness weighed on him like a heavy chain. And no matter how many times he had tried to tell his father, the response was always the same. "You're imagining things, Billy. Teresa loves you." But Billy knew the truth. Then from the corner of his eye, he saw him, Donald Trump, seated just a few tables away, sipping coffee and talking with two associates. His presence commanded attention. People whispered, some sneaking quick photos, their eyes filled with admiration or curiosity. Billy had seen Trump on TV before. His teacher once said he was a powerful man, someone who could fix problems. And at that moment, Billy's mind raced. Could Trump fix his problem? Could he be the one person to finally help? His heart pounded as an idea formed, a risky, desperate idea. With shaking hands, he reached for a napkin and gripped his crayon. SOS. He underlined it twice. Then, in small, unsteady letters, he wrote, "Help me. Stepmother is hurting me." He stared at the words, his pulse racing. If Teresa saw this, if she caught him, he didn't want to think about what she might do. But if he did nothing, nothing would change. Summoning every ounce of courage, Billy took a deep breath, slid off his chair, and clenched the napkin in his tiny fist. "Where are you going?" Teresa barked. "Bathroom," he mumbled, keeping his voice small and timid. She barely glanced up, waving him off as she scrolled through her phone. This was it. The moment of decision. Instead of heading to the restroom, Billy turned toward Trump's table. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself forward, step by step, until he stood beside the powerful man. With wide, pleading eyes, he held out the crumpled napkin. Trump glanced down, his brow furrowing as he unfolded the paper. His eyes flicked back up to Billy. A silent understanding passed between them. "Stay right here," Trump said, his voice calm but firm. Then, he turned to one of his associates and gave the order that would change everything. "Call 911. Trump's eyes scanned the napkin, the shaky letters making the message clear. SOS. Help me. Stepmother is hurting me. His expression hardened. He had seen many things in his life. Business deals, politics, power struggles. But this was different. This was a helpless child, standing before him, silently pleading for rescue. He wasted no time. Turning to one of his associates, His voice was calm but firm. "Call 911. Billy's heart pounded. He had taken a risk, and for the first time in what felt like forever, someone believed him. Someone was listening. A small glimmer of hope flickered inside him, fragile but real. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing: he wasn't alone anymore. Meanwhile, Teresa remained completely unaware, her eyes locked on her phone, scrolling mindlessly. She had no idea that, just a few feet away, the walls were finally closing in around her. Minutes later, the glass doors of McDonald's swung open and 2 police officers stepped inside. Their eyes swept the crowded restaurant, scanning for the call's source. Trump lifted a hand and gestured toward Billy. "This boy needs help," he said, his voice carrying enough weight that the officers immediately took notice. As they approached, Billy stood frozen, emotions swirling inside him: fear, relief, uncertainty. But deep down, he knew. This was the moment his life would finally change. One of the officers knelt beside Billy, his voice gentle but serious. "Son, is this true? Did you write this?" He held up the napkin, the letters SOS. "Help me. Stepmother is hurting me," still visible. Billy swallowed hard, his small hands clenched into fists at his sides. His voice trembled as he finally spoke the words he had been too afraid to say before. "Yes. She hurts me when my dad's not around." Before the officer could ask another question, a sharp voice cut through the restaurant. "What the hell is going on here?" Teresa stormed over, her face twisted in anger and confusion. She glared at the officers, then at Billy. "What are you telling them?" she snapped. Before Billy could even react, Trump stood up, his presence commanding the room. He looked Teresa in the eye and said, "The boy wrote an SOS message. You explain yourself to the authorities." His tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. For the first time, Teresa hesitated. Her eyes darted between Trump, the officers, and Billy, who stood frozen beside them. "This is ridiculous," she scoffed, forcing a laugh. "He's lying. He's just being dramatic. He does this for attention." But the officers weren't convinced. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us for questioning," one of them said, stepping forward. Teresa's composure cracked. "Are you kidding me? You're taking the word of a little brat over mine?" She tried to pull away, but the officer's firm grip on her arm stopped her cold. Billy watched, his heart pounding, as Teresa was led out of the McDonald's in handcuffs. For the first time in a long while, he felt something unfamiliar: relief. The nightmare was finally coming to an end. At the police station, investigators wasted no time looking into Billy's claims. A medical examination revealed bruises on his arms and back, some old, some fresh, clear signs of abuse. But that wasn't all. When officers spoke to neighbors, they uncovered even more disturbing truths. Several had seen Teresa yelling at Billy, grabbing him roughly, punishing him over the smallest things. One elderly woman next door recalled hearing his muffled cries at night. Another neighbor admitted, "We suspected something was wrong, but we didn't know how to help." With mounting evidence, the case against Teresa became undeniable. Within days, she was formally charged with child abuse. When Billy's father was confronted with the truth, he broke down in tears. All the times he had dismissed his son's pain, all the moments he had chosen not to see, it all came crashing down on him. Sitting in a quiet room at the police station, he finally faced Billy, his voice heavy with guilt. "I'm so sorry, son. I should have believed you." Tears welled in his eyes as he pulled Billy into a tight embrace, holding him as if he were afraid to let go. Billy didn't say anything. He just closed his eyes and let himself be held, finally feeling safe. Social services quickly stepped in, ensuring Billy was placed in a safe and loving home. No more fear. No more waiting for footsteps outside his door at night. For the first time in years, Billy had a future filled with hope. The story spread like wildfire. News outlets across the country reported on Trump's quick thinking and decisive action that helped rescue a helpless child. Headlines read, "Donald Trump saves abused boy," after receiving SOS at McDonald's. Talk shows, radio hosts, and social media erupted with discussions about the event. People praised Trump for not hesitating when it mattered most. Reporters swarmed him with questions. "Mr. Trump, what made you take action?" one asked. But Trump, never one to seek credit, simply shrugged and said, "Any decent person would have done the same." It wasn't about politics, business, or fame. It was about doing the right thing when a child needed help. The story resonated deeply with people across the nation. Parents held their children a little closer that night. Strangers discussed the power of paying attention, of speaking up when something seems wrong. And most of all, Billy's story became a powerful reminder. Sometimes, a single act of bravery, no matter how small, can change a life forever. Billy sat by the window of his new home, watching the sun set over the quiet neighborhood. For the first time in a long while, he felt safe. No more fear, no more walking on eggshells. Just peace. He took a deep breath, then whispered softly, "Thank you." He didn't know if Trump would ever hear it, but deep down, he hoped the man who had saved him somehow knew. This story reminds us that sometimes, even in the most unexpected places, a helping hand can change a life forever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Thanks for watching.